Both of our cafes are on pace to make $1 million each this year. And we are confident we could do it from scratch with no brand recognition in like 18 months.
Just from the skills we've learned from running those two.
Yes, yeah. And so today we're going to impart those skills onto you. Maybe, we'll see. We're talking about a few points to get your cafe to $1 million as fast as possible. And we'll get to that in just a minute. But first, a word from our sponsors, Local Eyes Growth.
Local Eyes is an SEO agency that we have personally in Valor worked with a good bit on our website on our coffee catering side, but also on our e-com and wholesale side of things. I'm going to call back to an episode we had, I think a month or two back with Justin from Good Heart Coffee. Good Heart Coffee is like the biggest coffee caterer that I'm aware of. He's in like 5 or 6 cities. He did 3,000 events last year between all of his locations, just doing carts. And the number one contributor to that success, he told me, was SEO. I asked him, like, okay, how do we get the amount of leads that you get? How can we be like you in our catering operation? I was expecting him to say, you got to just cold call, like you got to go do free cart activations for corporate clients. You got to get in contact with wedding vendors and be on the knot. But not that. No, it's SEO, search engine optimization. So if you get in touch with the people at Localize, the best way to do that is localizegrowth.com/Valor. There's exclusive pricing for listeners of the Valor Coffee podcast. They have a website kickstart that, goodness gracious, I wish we just would have started with that back in 2016.
Same.
Be sure to check that out. I know it's, as the name would suggest, it's really going to kickstart your business. And whenever I talk to coffee caterers about SEO, I'm like, hey, are you like actually ready to do this? Or do you want to keep doing it part-time? Because if you want to keep doing it part-time, like don't invest in SEO. But if you're ready to like actually make some money and make this a little bit more of a career, like get your SEO right, get in touch with Localize.
Do it. Let's get into it, y'all.
Ready to rock?
And just like that, another week down the drain. The good drain, right?
I don't really think of it down the drain. I think more like building towards something, you know?
Yeah, but like, what if the drain in this instance is good?
Yeah, sure.
Like gutters, you know? Like gutters are good.
Gutters are good. I'm about to have some installed on my house.
No kidding?
No kidding.
Wow.
It didn't have gutters. Clearly there's an Ethan-shaped hole.
Yeah.
Here on the podcast. He's finally on his paternity leave.
Yep.
Congratulations.
He was on pre-paternity leave for 6 months. And then now he's actually gone.
Mom was happy, healthy.
Yeah.
Baby. I don't know if he wants his kid's name on the podcast. Baby is happy.
Yeah, Grayson will put like a beep track.
Yeah.
Beep track. Well, we're drinking free throw, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the ground control.
On the ground control.
Rest in peace. Ground control.
Why rest in peace? Because
yeah,
they stopped making products.
I believe they stopped making products. Yeah. So I guess to be determined on what's going to happen if that ever gives us a hiccup. Yeah.
Maybe they shut down their support team.
I would think that they did shut down their support team. Yeah.
That would seem cogent.
So our thoughts are with you, ground control. Today, we're talking about something, a little thing we like to call money, right?
Yeah.
And sales and making money as a company.
Yeah.
Well, heck, one of the reasons that a lot of people start a business.
Yeah. Probably a core reason.
Yeah. And making money is something that we haven't known very much about for very long.
Sure.
Right? But I think that we're learning a little bit more about it.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people this all the time whenever I talk about this company, and I think maybe some other people would relate. We started this company as a fuel for passion. And I even remember telling people when we first got into the game, like, oh yeah, I'll probably never make a lot of money doing this, and that's fine, just because I'm so passionate about it. Do you remember saying things like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like, oh yeah, it's the coffee industry. There's not a lot of money to be made. And now I look back on that and I'm like, that was really silly of me. Because it was easy enough for me to say that at that time when it was like me and like no responsibilities and no kids, and even still, sure, there's nothing wrong with a simple life where you don't need for much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we can all respect that. But whenever we started to really get serious about making this business operate to a means where we can flourish and our families, we can provide for our families for the future, and we started it's not even like selling out to anything. It's just like literally, let's run this company better and make smarter decisions with our time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, wow, now we're making more money across the board and personally.
Right.
So one of the ways I would say that happens, and especially one of the ways that it can happen for individuals owning a cafe rather than a 3-partner squad, is getting your cafe to over $1 million.
Yeah.
Because if you were at $1 million top line, then you're likely at, let's say, I don't want to say at worst, because obviously, you can just be losing money by making the wrong decisions. But like $1 million top line, if you're doing 10% net profit, is $100,000 a year, which is a pretty dang livable wage for many owners with families.
And that's assuming that the owner is just taking the profit as their wage, their salary. But that could be even on top of, like, if you were running the cafe and you're the GM, you're paying yourself some $50K.
Yeah. 60.
You could take some distributions from that profit.
Yeah, exactly. So, with that being said, we have 2 $1 million cafes as of this year. And so obviously it hasn't always been that way. But I'm confident that we could, and we were talking about it before. It's like the first one obviously has been around for a while. And then the second one, we open it with a, what some would maybe call like an established local brand.
Sure.
So if you want to chop it up to, oh, you guys are already established, so like that's not a fair representation. I will say I'm pretty confident that if we started a brand from scratch, just from what we have learned doing this business, I feel like we could get it to on pace for $1 million a year within, call it 18 months.
Sure.
And that, like I said, obviously just comes from learning and failing a lot along the way. So obviously for most businesses, the second time, if you did it a second time, I would hope that it would be better than the way you did it the first time. So, in this podcast, we're just going to outline the ways the ways we think and the things that we would do to make $1 million the fastest way possible.
Yeah. Let's jump into it.
That aren't opening a cafe in an airport.
Right. Right. And yeah, so you're hinting towards location choice later, which I think in the third point we can get to.
Yeah. So stick around for that one.
Yeah, stick around.
And while you're sticking around, go ahead and like this podcast, follow us on Spotify, share with your friends, and subscribe on YouTube, right?
Yeah, and if you've learned something from this podcast and
you haven't learned anything yet,
got value, sure. Podcasts in the past, leave a review.
Oh, wow.
On the podcast app you're choosing. Now back to the show. The first thing we would focus on the most fundamental level is Purple Cow. Now, what's Purple Cow? Well, I'll tell you.
Wait, let me ask. Ross, what's Purple Cow?
Well, Purple Cow is the title of a book by Seth Godin. A book about marketing, but it comes at marketing from a different angle, which may shock you. That angle is that your product, your guest experience, whatever it is you are offering, is your best marketing leverage point. Instead of a brilliant marketing strategy, instead of paying lots of money for ads, instead of whatever traditional marketing tactics you would employ, all those are good. But it's common sense, right? If you get a ton of ads and you put a ton of money to local ads and it's on everyone's Instagram, like grand opening XYZ coffee shop, and you get a ton of people there, your marketing worked, right? The ton of people are there, but they arrive, and if your product, when I say product, I don't just mean the cup of coffee or the pastry. I mean the guest experience is your product. That's everything from the hospitality to how it looks, to the flow of service, to your parking, to obviously your coffee. Your employees are your product too. Not in a like dehumanizing way, but just in the sense that they are the driving force for everything, like from the quality of your product to hospitality, guest care. All of these things are all hinging on your team, which is why we say the health of our team is the most important thing in our business. But this book really taught us that what I just said, that our product is our biggest investment point, because when someone experiences a good product, they want to come back.
Yeah.
Repeat customers are the biggest contributing factor to your $1 million coffee shop.
Yep.
Regulars.
Yeah. And there's a reason that this is point one, because if you don't have the product, you have nothing. You have nothing to market. You have nothing to build upon. And, you know, if that is the case, then you need to spend some time in R&D. And I don't say that just in the sense of like testing drinks, but like looking at your systems, looking at the pain points, looking at, you know, what are your baristas communicating to your guests? How are they greeting people when they walk through the door? So taking a step back and getting that dial, because if you don't have that as a foundation, you're not going to have something that the masses are going to love. If you're serving a subpar product, either in terms of the beverage itself or the hospitality experience, then, you know, why would you market a 3.5 star product? You feel me? So yeah, I think a coffee company that comes to mind just kind of right off the cuff, that's kind of been purple cowing lately. Now and Then, Nashville. Been hearing people talk about that. They are serving, you know, only competition grade coffees at like a bar of 10 people. And I don't think they're doing any massive outbound ad campaigns, you know? But people are talking about this because the product itself is so remarkably interesting.
It's just different.
It's different. Yeah.
Yep.
And so, you know, and you know, to talk about that, that's why if I think about like I think about Man versus Food, the show.
Okay.
Okay. Go with me there.
I'm kind of always thinking about that. So I was already there.
So why are these restaurants on Man versus Food? It's because they have some silly challenge on their menu.
Sure.
The thing where you have to eat an 80-ounce steak and 3 baked potatoes or whatever. I mean, that's purple cow in a different way that I'm not recommending here. I'm saying just like get your core offering dialed, but like that is marketing the product marketing itself.
Right. And the whole phrase purple cow comes from this little story he shares of like, if you were driving down the road and you saw a beautiful pasture with a bunch of cows, but amongst all of those brown, black, spotted cows, there was a purple cow. Like you would remember that for the rest of your life because it's so remarkable. And you would share that with anyone you came in contact with because you'd be so blown away that just happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm reflecting back just in closing on this point, like what was we don't have competition grade only 10 seats at the bar. You know, we don't have like our best selling item is lavender vanilla lattes. We have incredible coffees that a lot of other roasters have, right? And so I'm thinking like what our Purple Cow was. I think of two things. The first thing is hospitality. The whole reason we started this company, and this is what I was very passionate about. You talked about passion in the beginning of this program. What made us want to start this was that I saw a lot of coffee shops that were good at the product side of things, but didn't focus on the hospitality whatsoever. And then I saw some coffee shops that were good at hospitality, but their product was kind of trash. So I just thought, like, why can't we have the best of both worlds? Why can't we deliver on the top 1% of coffees in the world with the top 1% of hospitality in the world and put that into one place so we don't have to sacrifice one or the other? They're not mutually exclusive. And so I think that was like our core offer. Like our core Purple Cow in our cafes is like, you can get the best or better coffee here than you can anywhere else in the state, in the city of Atlanta. But you're also going to make incredible connections, and we are going to give you world-class service. That's the main thing to me. That's not crazy. That's not like revolutionary. I guess it is in some ways. It's maybe it's just simple but hard to execute on. And then the second thing that I would say was our Purple Cow was very simply the amount of effort we put into every detail, like the whole being greater than the sum of the parts thing. For example, we have first-timer stickers that we give people just to recognize them on their first time at Valor, because another core philosophy of ours is like, people will forget what you said and what you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So how can we tailor this experience around making people feel an unforgettable feeling that they're just magnetically drawn back to? Thus a regular, thus referrals to other people, and so on. Someone asked me the other day, like, what do you think about regulars? He owns a business, and he was asking me, like, do you like regulars? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And he was like, are they annoying sometimes? And I was like, yeah, sometimes, because maybe if you have an annoying regular, but like if your brand is good, then you're going to attract good regulars.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in terms of, regardless of if you see it or not, every single person that walks through your door, you spent money on getting that person there somehow. Somehow they heard about your brand, which then goes back to you making a Instagram post, and you paid yourself, like, so why wouldn't you want, after you spent money on getting that person there, to keep them there?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering, such an awesome report is like, what percentage of our daily guests are guests that come to our cafe at least once a week? I bet it's like a lot.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before. I think it's like 70%.
So clearly, you need to tailor your experience around attracting and keeping those guests for the future.
Totally. Well, hey, one part of building and keeping a Purple Cow product is dialing in your systems. And it's one thing to have a product that you're proud of. It's another thing to keep that product on your menu consistently. So I would say this is something that we've always taken relatively seriously, because one of the first business books we ever read was The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So this speaks a lot about, building your business as if it's going to be a corporate chain eventually, so installing systems, that will last and will be able to be replicated if you were to want to expand. Just because, it's better to run your business even as one business whenever you have, a book of systems. We didn't do that. Even still, it's like, even now, that's like one of the big things that we're doing and focusing on, building out standard operating procedures for everything we do in this company. Because it's just true. Whenever you have a checklist, it's more likely that the thing is going to get done in the correct way. And I think a huge limitation for so many businesses is that a lot of what happens in the company lives in the owner's head, because the owner is in a technician mindset, which is kind of one of the biggest points that the E-Myth makes. You have people who were in the coffee industry, baristas, who eventually say, I want to start my own coffee shop. They find the funds to do so. And then what is their background? Barista. And so they live in this barista technician mindset for forever in some cases, or for a very long time, when in reality, that person's time is more valuable doing other things that build the brand, which is what gets you to that $1 million cafe spot. I don't know. Even out of barista and just into other roles here, there's so much things that I have that live in my mind.
Sure.
That need to be documented somewhere. And thus could be handed off if they were documented. And I think some of this comes from a place of pride for a lot of people, or, there's no one who can do it the way that I do it. Is a thought that has definitely crossed my mind about certain things in the past. And that's just total crap. It's like, a lot of times as business owners, we're not a master of one specific thing, because we have to do so many things across the board in the business. So if you hired someone who specializes in a specific task, even on like a contract basis, it's very likely that they're going to be better than you at doing that, One
of the main things I got from E-Myth is he kept on driving home the point, systems over people. And I remember my 19, 20-year-old brain reading that. I was very hot on the concept of like, we're in the people business. We're not in the coffee business, because I was very closely inspired by my mom and her working for the Atlanta Falcons and Arthur Blank family businesses. And they would always say that, like, we're not in the entertainment business. We're not in the football. We're in the people business. There's so much good from that. And of course, like I said earlier, health of the team is the most important thing. However, people come and go. Systems don't. And I think what you said earlier is such a key point. Building your business as if it's going to be a corporate chain. Not that it has to be. It might be. You might surprise yourself. And I think I would say this to my earlier self when we were starting. You get into this because you're passionate about making coffee and serving people, and like the atmosphere and the role that a coffee shop plays in the community. You get into it for that reason. And that's beautiful, healthy, awesome. But you might just fall in love with scaling your business.
Yeah.
You might just fall in love with making systems. All the admin work and strategy work that maybe didn't interest you in the beginning could end up being the thing that makes you want to continue doing this for years to come. And the good news is that is the type of work that will allow your business to exist for years to come. Because what's the other option? Like, you just keep in your barista role and you like hire someone who's like your boss to grow and scale your business. Like, or you like bring on a partner that maybe you shouldn't have brought on. So I think there are ways, if you're just absolutely in love with making coffee, like Ethan. We had a heart-to-heart conversation, the three of us, last week, of like, I feel like we have this conversation maybe once a quarter of like, what do you like doing? And what do you want to be doing in this business personally for years to come? And he was like, I really like being behind the bar. And so we're like, okay, like, and he would recognize this as well. You probably can't only do that, but you can work that into your week of like, it's like you have to take a break from being behind bar for a long time to focus on systems so that you can be on bar again.
Yeah.
Because no one else is going to do that.
Yeah.
But you.
It's funny. We had that conversation, and then he intentionally stopped scheduling himself on, because he thought he was going to be on leave. And then baby comes late. So he's just like around for multiple weeks, and he's only working on systems and background things. And he's like, this is I think he even said it is like, this is some of the best, technical work I've done in a long time. Even though it might not be technically what he loves, I'm sure that he really enjoyed doing it and obviously saw the value in it. So yeah, that's a good point.
Let's just get really tactical here. So if we were to open a new brand, a new coffee shop, and we were going to employ the second point of like making sure the systems were right, what would we do?
Okay. First of all, I would have all owners and leadership sit down and create a perfect week. Because I think that is a good way to start your system as far as personal accountability. So sit down, look at your calendar. Obviously, there's some variables with you working behind the bar, but establish windows of time that you're going to do certain administrative tasks. And then use a to-do list for, just please, stop using paper. Use an electronic to-do list that allows you to add recurring to-dos. So many people that is such a hard hurdle. And I promise you, I'm like, there was a time that the three of us didn't do that. And I wonder how much monetary value has come out of just having recurring to-dos in this company.
Yeah. It's just follow through.
Yeah.
Is all it is.
And so if you can learn how to follow a to-do list in a calendar, then you are going to get to $1 million in your cafe way faster. Yeah. So that would be step one before you even open the doors of the cafe, is get those things in check. Then it's easier said than done because I can easily use Loom on my computer and just every single task I do record a Loom and then create an SOP out of it. But I would say have that system building mindset when you're behind the bar. Every single thing you do all day, every day, be like, should I document this? Where could I document this?
If this was going to be a franchise, what would I do?
Exactly. So, think about that for every single drink you make. We talk about it in Valor a lot of times. There's a lot of confusion about how to make an iced Americano. Sure. And it's like, all it has to be done there is create a document that lives somewhere that we can point people towards. Yeah. And it's like, do that for every single drink. And it's like another one Ethan talked about recently was, what do we do when glass breaks? Yeah. It's like there's the glass break SOP. And that's a document that you can reference and be like, okay, you do this, this, and this. And then, you can get as in-depth or as, bird's eye view as you want with that stuff. But have that mindset and then have a place where all that can live, whether it's a Google Drive folder or Notion or what have you, where all those documents can live and then be easily accessible and keep it really organized so that people can find exactly what they're looking for. I would say if you do those things and then create a training system for new hires out of those documents, then you'll be in a good spot.
Yeah, and even the soft skill stuff, like how do you hire the right people? Make a system out of to support that process. Yeah, and I think that is a common myth for us emotional people out there of if I put too much structure around my coffee shop, is it going to lose all the soul and magic? And an unorganized coffee shop does not mean you have a coffee shop with soul and magic.
Well,
right?
a good way to lose all the soul and magic is to go out of business.
Absolutely.
And if you are extremely unorganized, I would say that the percentage likelihood chance of that happening is a lot higher.
Yes. The other side of this structure talk is be structured yet flexible. Because if we are just structured to a T and everything's on the calendar, that's great. But the cafe is a volatile atmosphere. I'm saying this on Ethan's behalf. This is what Ethan would say right now.
True. Because me and you in the world we're living in, the virtual world, it's like, it's one thing to be like, you know, I do this at this time, this at this time.
Right.
But then Ethan's like, oh, okay, well, I had to go in to clean up sewage water on Sunday at 9 p.m. or whatever.
Absolutely. You know? But it's even more important to have a to-do list in that situation.
Oh, yeah.
Because you are always getting unexpected circumstances thrown at you, and it is your job to handle them. That's a good thing. It's like all in a day's work. Yeah, that's 100% my role.
Yeah.
But it makes it even easier to like forget the stuff that's going to grow your business. Working on the business instead of just in the business all the time.
All right. Structure versus, let's think about like what you're saying, like magic, thoughtfulness. So structure versus that.
Yeah.
Is it better to never buy your wife flowers?
Michaela, don't watch this. She doesn't.
Or like,
there's no way she does.
Or like you only do it like a couple times a year.
Yeah.
Because that's when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because you're unthoughtful. We're unthoughtful.
Because you're a dude.
Yeah. Me and you, we're relatively unthoughtful guys.
Correct.
So is it better to only do it a couple times a year? Or is it better to do it every month based on a Todoist reminder?
And you set up a Zap to scramble the date.
Yes.
So it's not always, you know, she's like, hey, it's the 2nd of the month. Her internal clock goes off. Where are my flowers?
Dude, that's crazy. So what's better or what's worse?
Yeah, definitely get it done. Right? Like you don't have to tell her. You don't have to tell her you have a Todoist Notion reminder that goes off. You don't have to do it on the same.
If your calendars are connected like my wife's, then
yeah, you might have a problem. You get a separate app. Okay. No, but that's a great point that if everything we do in our work all the time is based off of us trying to remember to do it, that's not a good system. It's not a system at all.
Yeah.
However, to be a human being and not a robot, it's like, yeah, you need to do things because you just think of it and because you wanted to. And that's the argument against that is like maybe not my wife. My wife's perfect, obviously. But maybe she would say, I don't want you to get me flowers because you have a reminder to get me flowers. I want you to get me flowers because you thought about me. I get that. Like at the same time, like I have friends in Montana, right? And
should we really steer in a direction here?
I'm exploring this topic.
Yeah, okay.
The guy editing this podcast lives in Montana, right? Grayson.
Yep.
Grayson, I know you're watching this.
You want to give his address or?
They live in Montana. It's a big state. Try to find them. I think about them, and it basically I don't reach out to them as much as I want to. Should I just have a recurring reminder? I have another friend that lives in California, right? It's like we want to keep that friendship going, but if I only ever rely on me remembering to reach out to them, then I'm not going to have the relationship I want with them.
Yeah. So you set up a Zap with select people's names.
Like I remember on, I don't know if this is too personal for you. When we merged Notions or like something, I saw like one of your personal reminders was like, reach out to a friend I haven't talked to in a while. Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Like written.
I never did it, so I deleted the task. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. So maybe you just didn't want to even do that.
No,
in the first
I didn't
place.
Want to.
Anyways, I think we've exhausted this point.
Yeah. But one of my to-dos now is plan date nights for the next month. It's like you could look at that as I don't know. It's like I don't know if that's not spontaneous enough for some people.
Sure.
But it's like if I didn't have that, we just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And our marriage would be worse.
100%.
Anyways.
Another personal thing.
So all that to say, back to $1 Million Cafe. When you have your product dialed, a big reason of why your product is going to be dialed is the systems that you create. So get your systems dialed, get your Purple Cow product dialed, and then from there, that's where you can get into our third point, which is get into the Evoked set of your customers. And this is something we heard about a long time ago, and I think it just stuck with us just because we were like, what is Evoked set?
We had nothing in our brains, so anything added to our brains was like huge.
It's true. So one of our business mentors kind of brought this up to us that I think especially at the time, we were probably talking about like our cafe, right?
Sure.
And how we needed to be in the Evoked set of our guests who are coming in. So
let me explain what Evoked set is real quick.
Yeah. Ross, what is Evoked set?
Riley, when I say permanent marker, what brands come to your head?
Sharpie.
When I say dry erase marker, which brand comes to your head?
Expo.
When I say grocery store, which one comes to your head?
Wow. Kroger.
Okay. So Evoked set, right? So like,
can I say something about the grocery store really quickly?
Yeah. It
was a mixture, funny enough, of Kroger and Food Lion that came to mind, and there's no way in hell Food Lion is in your Evoked set.
That points exactly to so many things, and I'm so excited to talk about this on a hot mic on a Wednesday with you. Your Evoked set is the set of brands that come to mind that are evoked when something is mentioned. And so here's a really small way we tried to get into people's Evoked set in Alpharetta, our first cafe. We have lots of windows in our space, and we have these globe lights that hang over the bar. Smash like if you've been to Alpharetta Cafe. Come on.
They look just like that.
They look exactly like that, and they are that.
Yeah.
We have Philips Hue bulbs in those globes that you can change the color of and, put whatever color you want. And so we thought, why don't we leave these globes on during the nighttime? Because the nightlife in Alpharetta is wild. We close at 5 p.m., right? But we can be
like this.
Oh, look at that. YouTube viewers will see the globes have changed lights. It's changed colors. Why don't we leave these globes on during the night so whenever people walk by or they drive by, because there's a lot of people, they're going to be like, what is that? And
Grayson's like the colors shifted and he's like,
yeah. They walk by or they drive by, they see like, oh, what are those? Like, that's kind of cool. And then they say, oh, that's a coffee shop. Oh, Valor. Okay, whatever. Next thought. What? Forget about it, right?
Yep.
But that is 0.5% closer towards us being in their mind when they are making the decision of whether or not to get coffee.
Yeah.
They think Alpharetta, we're climbing the leaderboard of what's in their mind when they think of Alpharetta, or they think of coffee, or they think of local business, or they think of lights, or whatever it is. Like, that is the number one thing you're contending for with a guest that could turn into a regular is, are you in their Evoked set?
Yeah. I think about, as we're talking about this, have you ever seen something where someone is advertising and you're like, that's such a silly advertisement that probably cost them so much money?
Yeah.
It's like Coke advertisements in stadiums where it's just like somewhere in the stadium is like Coca-Cola. It's like no other message about the brand. It's just like their logo is there. The entire point of that is just the more you can get your logo in front of someone's eyes, the more it's going to be linked to their subconscious.
Yes.
So as silly as those sorts of things seem, there's a reason that people and these big brands spend billions of dollars to have that placement.
That was one of the main reasons we rebranded.
Yeah.
Remember that? Like, what was that? Was that 3 or 4 years ago at this point that we rebranded?
Mm-hmm.
We had so many different logos, so many different types, fonts, colors, and it felt very disjointed because we had a bunch of very talented designers all designing stuff for us that all looked cool. It's just like it wasn't cohesive. And so a big reason we rebranded was like Coca-Cola hasn't changed their logo ever. Like the scripty, like full Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
A reason for that is it's easily recognizable. And when you think soda, like you see that logo in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
If they had a bunch of different logos, it's hard. It's less potent of a brand.
Yeah.
So that was a big reason for us. This gets at Purple Cow, and it also gets at Evoked Set. And this is kind of like racy and sort of against my morals a little bit, but I'll share it. Do you know, and I saw Alex Hormozy talking about this, so that's why it was in my brain. But have you seen Sasquatch soap?
Yeah.
Collaboration with Sydney Sweeney?
Yes.
Like whatever hot girl of the moment. They made, so like Sasquatch is like, they do like soap and stuff. They made bars of soap
So cringe. Bro.
out of her bath water.
Yeah.
Allegedly, right? And his whole point was like, and they're selling it for a premium. I think it like a bar of soap's like, I could be totally wrong. I think there's like $50 for a bar of soap. So his point was the reason they're doing that is not to make the $5 million that they may make gross revenue off of this.
Because wasn't his point, was this a short?
Yes.
Wasn't his point that they could have sold the bar of soap for $500 a piece and it was so limited that it all would have sold?
Yeah. And a company of that size, that amount of revenue is inconsequential. That's not the main reason they're doing it. The main reason they're doing it is, he was like, the fact that we're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
And so that gets at Purple Cow. It gets at Evoked Set. When I think of like premium soap, I think of Sasquatch because I've seen it in stores. They're doing this crazy thing with this girl who it's insane, right? And it just sticks in your brain. And Evoked Set is the whole reason they're doing it.
Yeah. As nasty and cringe as that is. Yeah. Totally.
But it works.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So how can we do something like that?
Like Sydney Sweeney bathwater latte. Like that.
Let's get off of this.
We're going wild when Ethan's not here, you know?
Back to grocery store. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
Let's analyze why you, who live in the boonies, think of Food Lion.
Mm-hmm.
And why I, who live in the boonies, but...
Yeah, you think of IGA?
No, I thought of Farm Fresh Beef. That's like right by my house. And so basically what I'm getting at is like location matters.
Yeah.
So I've been itching to talk about location this whole time of like how you get to $1 million cafe.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there's a reason why they say location, 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 right? Because both of our coffee shops are in baller locations.
Yeah.
Like Dunwoody, a little bit less so, maybe at first glance.
Mm-hmm.
Alpharetta, like you would, as soon as anyone, no matter your experience level, walks up to it, you're like, this is an amazing location. Because it has it all. It has foot traffic, which is rare. It has commuter traffic, car traffic, which is maybe a little more common, but very powerful for a coffee shop. It has destination, because the whole city of Alpharetta is a very walkable area. People come to Alpharetta and just spend a day there. They're like, let's just go to Alpharetta and see what happens, right?
Yeah. Tons of residential.
Tons of residential.
Tons of business.
Tons of businesses, like big tech companies all around it. And then there's a big high school. Very nice. And then you have the income side of it, like the income of the median income of that area is
well over 100K.
Super high.
Yeah.
Expendable income for people. It's amazing. We're very blessed. Like, glory to God for us for us having that location, because like it literally fell into our laps. Mm-hmm. Whereas Dunwoody was more like, it's different. It's a different beast. It's more parking, more cars, 0 foot traffic. There's a mall kind of in the vicinity, like a dying mall, kind of in the vicinity. But just to drive home the point of like your location is a huge part of Evoked set for a local brand.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Especially in terms of the food line thing. It's like if you're the only coffee shop in a city, you're going to be the Evoked set for coffee shops in that city. So not saying that it's a good thing to be the only coffee shop in the city. I would say that that's kind of the trailblazer mindset if you were going to go in that direction of opening in a small town. So I don't know. I mean, obviously you're not going to have $1 million cafe in a city of 500 people. You know, it's just not likely to happen. So that is a good caveat to this entire conversation, is that you have to have some of the foundational things in line, like your location.
Dude, that's a huge caveat.
Yeah.
Really, to drive home that point. Like if you are in a small city, it's going to be hard to pull this off.
Yeah.
$1 million cafe with the traditional model. Sure, you could like break the whole system and offer something like a really premium product or experience. You could, I don't know what else. Like, I think the fact that both of our cafes are in high income areas that have tons of people is a huge part of why we have $1 million cafes.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So let's just, what are a few other ways, a few very practical ways that you can kind of get into the Evoked set of your guest. First one that comes to mind for me that we haven't really done with the first two cafes that I would do if we were starting from scratch is, once I had the systems dialed, once I had the product dialed, I would run ad campaigns with very specific lead magnets to get guests. So, come in, show us a screenshot of this ad. It could be as simple as that. Come into our cafe, show us a screenshot of this ad on your first visit, and your drink is free or 50% off or whatever. They're going to come in, they're going to get the Purple Cow product, and then that is talking about a regular, like that is then a very large lifetime value if they have a good experience. And then if you can do that over and over and over and over again, then, that's going to be the quickest way to see your revenue quickly start climbing. And if you discover that it's working and you're seeing sales growth directly generated from these ads, find a way to track the person that you're giving the free drink and see if they come back, whether it's through your POS or whatever. If you're running ads, you're tracking them, you're getting more and more visits from this person that came in, got this free thing. Why wouldn't you just pour more money on the ads and keep doing it until you see it start to taper off? It's just all it is developing the system. To track the progress of how that's doing. That's one thing that I would do kind of right off the cuff.
On that note, and this is not our original thought. Again, this is like our YouTube business mentor, Alex Ramosi. Why not take out a line of credit with a, you're going to pay interest on that, but like it's going to be lower compared to the gains you'll see from pouring that money into ads, creating a bunch of return customers. Because cash flow is low, right? Like you're not going to have tons of working capital, especially for a new business, especially a new coffee business. Take out a line of credit, just like spam that ad if it really worked for you. I think just we'll get back to Evoked set, but like the core of this podcast to me is you can't have $1 million coffee shop in year one if you just focus on being a barista as the owner.
Yeah.
I think it's key to like really lead by example and set the culture with your hands and your heart behind the bar as the owner. I think you really need that, but you're not going to scale it like to this.
Yeah.
Unless you're just in some like crazy opportunity location, you strike gold. But like all of this stuff we're talking about like takes time and work from someone who is skilled in these things. So you can't afford to like not be skilled in these things. That's what I would tell myself, like, back in 2019, starting Alpharetta, is like, you love making coffee and that is great. And that's a pivotal part of what's going to make Valor who it is now today.
Yeah.
paving the way. At the same time, though, you can't afford to not grow as a business owner on these things we're talking about.
Yeah. I've been asked about like business advice or tips from a couple people lately. And I think the thing that I've said is like, you have to love work to see yourself grow really fast. Like work has to be your hobby. And I used to not believe that. I think I used to believe in like much more of like, oh, you have to stop working and have these other things that you do, because if you don't, then you're going to be like unhealthy. And I can see how that can be relevant in some cases. But at the same time, if I'm in a season where it's like I'm loving work, like at more moments, like if I do have some downtime, but I'm like, okay, I'm just going to like work on this thing that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. I think having that mindset has made me see the areas that I, oversee grow at way more rapid of a rate than they would have otherwise. And I don't know. I just don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of hard work.
Yeah, well,
especially if you're trying to scale to $1 million really quickly. It's like you might have to be that owner, operator, GM, and then you might have to put in the extra hours to do these sorts of tasks at 8 p.m. at night.
Sure.
And it's like you're a new business. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. A key part of that is, I mean, there's a season that I think both of us are in right now where it's like we're very clear on what we're doing in our work and we love it. Mm-hmm. And then there's like, I can just, I don't even have to imagine it. There's times where Ethan has been here. There's times when both of us have been here where like, we're just so damn exhausted from running a cafe that like you need rest to be able to show up well when you're there. But again, like there's also just times where it's like you need rest, but you also need to run payroll now. Mm-hmm. And that is who's going to carry the boats, man. Like you decided to start a business.
Yeah. Yeah. And you should reap the rewards from your business too. It's like get to $1 million and then pay yourself well, because you're the one that's putting in that sweat later in the day. Just quickly, the math on this is like $1 million a year is $83,000 per month, which is, $2,700 a day. So, do your own calculations. You might be open on Sundays, you might be closed on Sundays. That's another thing. If you're closed on Sundays, that's going to make things a little harder. But run those numbers for yourself. Figure out what you want your daily averages to be weekday versus weekend, and then figure out average transaction. Ours is like 10 and some change, $10 and some change. Figure out average transaction, how many guests you need to get through the door, how many of those are going to be recurring customers versus how many new people you need to be getting through your door per day. And then that can influence, talking about ads and stuff, how much your ad spend needs to be for people to actually come in and take advantage of this. And then you can kind of develop, and figure out like what it takes to make this happen.
Yeah, man, just so much of this is like, how does the owner spend their time? Mm-hmm. How the owner spends their time could be, some are saying, the most important aspect of this, of a business.
Dude, we've been talking about that more, especially now that we're not making a tremendous amount of money or anything, but even like, when we were making like $45,000 for a long time, it's like hourly. It's like if we goofed off for an hour or like did something for an hour, it wasn't as much of an impact as it is now that we're making like, double that.
Sure.
or whatever. And then as we keep growing our business, keep paying ourselves more, it's like the things that we do only matter that much more in terms of like, if you were like, so what is $100,000, like $50 an hour? If you're making $100,000, it's like, if you goof off for an hour, there's $50 down the drain.
Sure.
Or if you are aimlessly working and being distracted by things, it's like, okay, there's $50 that is just like literally I just lit on fire.
Yeah. And it's important to know your KPIs of your coffee shop, key performance indicators. A key performance indicator of a $1 million coffee shop is how many regulars you have.
Yeah.
So maybe talking to a regular for 15 minutes is a very high leverage, high ROI use of your time.
Yeah.
As the owner, because like, I think that for better or for worse, man, like communities love coffee shops where the owner is present.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how it is in a lot of ways. At the same time, in the Dunwoody store that we have, that will, Lord willing, like it's on pace to do $1 million this year. We don't have an owner present there.
Yeah.
We've really built a lot of good systems, and we have an awesome leader there and a great team.
Yeah, dude. But at the same time, if there was an owner present there, no shade to our team whatsoever. Just like talking about the core philosophy of what you're saying. It's like maybe it would be doing even more. Well, just because what you're saying, people value that in a local cafe.
Exactly. It's no statement on the performance of any team member. It is a statement on the guest's perception.
Yeah.
Of like, oh yeah, that's Ethan's coffee shop.
Yep.
He's the owner. He started it when he was 19. Isn't that so cool? I'm gonna go support him because I've seen his family in there. Like that evokes set, right? Like that gets in people's brains, and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Ethan's place.
Yeah.
And as much as we are like, when we promote a head coach, we're like, we want them to be the new face of that cafe. We want that to be Savvy's place. You know, like that's the goal. And I think it absolutely can move in that direction. But at the end of the day, present ownership in a cafe is definitely high ROI, high leverage work. And I think Ethan does a good job of remembering that. And like, I think you and I have allowed space. We've held space for Ethan. Just in that, like if I see Ethan talking to a regular in our cafe, I'm not thinking Ethan needs to get to work. I'm like, Ethan is working.
Yeah. And
I know he's going to get his stuff done because he's organized.
Yeah.
You know?
And we've talked about that more, like if and when and as he steps out as head coach of Alpharetta, like the GM there, which he has been for a minute, and he steps into retail director, it might look more like a structured time of his where he's like we've kind of talked about it, about whatever day it's going to be or whatever, but like let's call it like every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. he's going to go to one of the cafes and rotate between the two, and not even necessarily be scheduled for a bar shift, but just help during volume and talk to guests. And it's like, sure, that's only one window, and he might miss certain guests who never come in on a Sunday at that time. But it's like maybe he sprinkles it through his calendar at a different time, and like structuring that time to be, what it is. And we've even talked about it in other ways. It's like you want to be a servant leader to people. That doesn't mean that you can do dishes anytime the sink gets full. That means that you might be able to put windows in your calendar to do that. But you just kind of have to start thinking outside of that technician mindset that we kind of hinted at in the second point. Okay. What could we do for proof? Do we need to start a new brand? Start another cafe?
Maybe.
Yeah.
This is all talk right now.
I know, it's all talk.
It kind of all hinges on like in our second cafe, how much of our success can we attribute to the fact that it was our second cafe and we had an established local brand? I think maybe less than you would think. I think that the fact that Valor, I think it was more the success of our second cafe is more about our personal growth.
Yeah.
Of showing not just our like owners, but like our whole team.
Yeah.
Our whole team's personal growth towards making good systems and scaling what has been created in our first cafe.
I mean, Ethan talks about it all the time. Like when he works at Dunwoody, he's like, yeah, I was at our Alpharetta cafe, and people were like, you have an Alpharetta cafe? It's like they only know about Valor Dunwoody.
Right.
And it's like, so think about, if that's the case, think about how many people are thinking, like, still don't know about your brand in general. Think about how many more people can know about your brand if you put times towards, content or ads or whatever to climb the ladders of the Evoked set. Man, we didn't even talk about just like organic content on someone's socials in terms of Evoked set, but that could be huge too.
Consistent content.
Yeah.
It goes back to the like Coca-Cola logo on the stadium. Like, there's a reason it's everywhere because they want to be in your Evoked set. So how can you do that on your Insta?
All right. Well, we hope that you've gotten some amount of value from this podcast.
If you're still listening, I would love to invite you personally. I'd love to personally invite you to join our online community where conversations like this are had every day between people that own businesses, starting businesses, but it's all in coffee. It's specialized to coffee. Everybody that I've encountered in that community is very, very gracious with their knowledge and their time. And they're all people who are wanting to grow personally and like really have a career in this business. So I would encourage you to join that. It's pretty much always the top link in our bio of this podcast or this video. So if you just click that link, you can join through there. We have a premium tier that is only $7.99 per month. And the goal of that premium tier is to equip you with a lot of the lessons that we've learned along the way. Lessons, but also really good training. Like the courses we have on the community are really quality. One of them is Barista 101. It's a 7-part series that takes you through everything you need to know for like a good foundation of working behind the bar. Feel free to use that in your onboarding, in your training for your cafe, or even personally if you're just starting in coffee. But we also have an SEO course in there, which I still can't believe we have. Like,
yeah, it's nuts.
It's incredible, especially coffee caterers. If you're listening, if you were to employ the tactics described in that SEO course, I guarantee you would see growth in your catering business.
You're literally missing out on, like tens of thousands of dollars by not spending $7.99 a month.
You can't afford not to do that.
To do that course, you can't afford not to.
That's right. That course is taught by Kent from Localize, who we talk about a good bit on this podcast as a sponsor. If you go to localizegrowth.com/valor, you'll see a page that describes a website kickstart, especially for coffee caterers. It's discounted. It's a one-time thing, but they help you get your website right from the beginning, which is going to, like, SEO is just, it's the thing for coffee catering as far as getting leads and getting exposure. So definitely check that out. Check out the community. We're excited to maybe not put another week down the drain, but maybe build upon what we're working on here at Valor and in all of your companies. So signing off.
Bye.